Hi everybody, welcome to Living Life with Style. I'm BB Webb, and today I am visiting with a local celebrity, Gerald Barnes, who is an author and financial consultant and tax accountant. But we're not going to focus on that part of your career. We're going to focus on the author part. You recently, welcome, first of all.
Thank you.
So glad you're here, Gerald. You recently wrote a book called Road to the Bigs.
That's correct.
And what is Road to the Bigs about?
Road to the Bigs is basically two stories. The first story is about the various levels of baseball and how a young player advances through all the levels as he tries to keep going higher and higher in the game. The other part of the story is a look at the history and culture of America, because baseball, when you write about baseball or you talk about the game, you have to look at the history and the culture behind it to understand it. So I was able to get into that part of it as well. So it's really a two-pronged book. You're looking at two entirely different things, but they are joined together to complete the story.
And you wrote this, and I haven't had a chance to read it yet. You just brought the book, and I'm very eager to, because in my marriage to Tom Webb, a lot of time was spent at the baseball fields with all three of his children. He's a dedicated dad, helping his children learn a lot of life's lessons on the ball field. But I want to read what was written here about you. He says, Susan Larson actually wrote an article about you in the Gwinnett Daily Post, and she says he skillfully weaves together baseball, history, geography, child-rearing, politics, religion, and philosophy, occasionally batting out challenges to political correctness. I think that's magnificent. I can't wait to read this book. So it really was a travelogue too, am I correct, in the journey you took with your son? Helping him?
Yes, that's part of it.
Okay.
And when I got to that part, he was in the Little League, and I noticed a lot of the parents had a good understanding of the game of baseball, and I think most Americans do. But very few of us have had an inside look at the game, which means we haven't really viewed the game from the experiences of a player that's going to Pony League, and then to high school, and then on either to college or the minor leagues or into some kind of a semi-pro situation. Our experiences for most of us have been as kids, and we play, and then we stop playing, and then we go on. We become fans. And I thought that a lot of parents who have kids in the Little League that are thinking in terms of, my kid is going to be a star. He's going to be the star in the high school team. He's going to be drafted into the pros. I hope that's... The dream of every young player, correct? Most of them. And I would like to see every kid be able to do that, but of course reality is that they all can't. Yeah. But I think parents would be at an advantage if they could see a little bit more of the inside game, so they would know in advance what kids have to go through, what skills they need, and also what kind of attitude. And I would say also that attitude probably is going to carry them farther than skills. Well,
I've had that conversation with Tom, my former husband, and just again and again about, for instance, his son has great skills as a batter and a pitcher and a runner. I don't know all the terms. I was a terrible step-parent as children to, I could create the food afterwards, but when the kids would be going to the games. But that the attitude, Tom would say again and again, if we could just get Joey's mind straight. And that's really, as he's maturing, what he's really working on. So I know that in golf, Tiger Woods talks about it a lot, and other players, how do you get your mind straight? And I often think, and I'm curious to read, in our culture, kids aren't always brought up with how to have that kind of mental discipline. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, golf is a perfect example, because if you go around to all the golf clubs in the country, you go to or any one of them, you will find a few guys that are shooting scratch. They go out there and they bang that ball down the fairway 300 yards, and they're shooting scratch golf, and they're great. But why aren't they all on the tour? Well, yes, exactly. There's a reason for it. Yeah. And that reason is not because they lack the skill, but they can't use the skill effectively enough. Now, they can play a great round of golf, but to get to the highest level of any game, you have to be able to use those skills so productively and efficiently, and not falter when the time comes. In baseball, it's especially true, because each player has to act on his own. It's not like other sports.
It is a team sport, but there has to be a mental discipline that is very individual to each person, you're saying?
That's right.
Okay.
Because the individual player has to make important decisions as things occur. In football, you send the play in, and in basketball, there's a formation. There is a circulation of players that's established. So they run a drill essentially, and they pass the ball around to get to the open man. But in baseball, when you put the ball in play and you start running, there's no one there that's going to block for you. There's no quarterback that's going to throw the ball to you.
That's a really interesting point. I mean, I used to do some running years ago, and there was I loved the mental part of it. The physical part, I ran a marathon once, didn't have any great score, but I learned through doing the marathon running that if I wasn't present to every moment, I couldn't run long distances. But if I was present to each moment, and I think there's something that's very zen and very just really almost metaphysical about how to transport your mind to serve your body and your intent. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And I've seen this in a lot of the young players that have come through in Norcross where I had experience.
Yes, talk about that a little bit. You're the owner of the Norcross?
Norcross Baseball Club.
Okay.
Yeah, which was formed for one singular purpose, and that was to save a ball field that has been in existence for about 134 years now.
That's fantastic. Now, when did you buy it?
No, I'd like to.
You'd like to? Okay, great.
No, it's city property,
okay.
and right now the city has to decide its future. But in 1874, there were three gentlemen who sold this 4-acre plot of land to the city. It was to the Norcross High School, really, at the time, which was located. It's 1 block away from the historic area of Norcross. And since then, it has been a baseball field.
Fabulous.
And recently, a developer has bought some property around there and has found a few allies on the city council and the Downtown Development Authority who he is urging to change that field into a city park so to back up his development so that it'll enhance property values or whatever else the issue is. And I've maintained for the last 5-6 years that we need to keep that field because of the great history of Norcross baseball.
Absolutely. That's fantastic.
They've had 4 major leaguers who've come out of Norcross.
Really? Who?
And, well, there are 2 Carlisle brothers.
Tom would know this, and so would Joey.
And a couple of Wingo brothers.
Okay.
And it was back in the 20s and the 30s.
Okay. Right,
but there was another 20 guys that went into professional ball that we can identify over all these years.
So it's sort of Field of Dreams. Come and they... Is that how you felt getting it? If all of you are familiar with Field of Dreams, the movie, build it and they will come.
Well, it's a fascinating history. And the thing that's so good about it is in Norcross, they own this heritage and this history. Other little towns don't have this kind of thing.
Right.
You can't buy this sort of thing.
Well, and it fits right in with the story that you're telling and the
True.
history of baseball, how it's been a part of our American culture forever.